Hi guys, just wanted to say overall last night's presentations I thought they were superb. You really are on the right track with the nature of the creativity and fun that you're using to communicate your understanding of the theoretical concepts in relation to the examples that you're actually bringing to the classroom. Clearly there was some standout stuff there last night, but there were a lot that were very close to actually nailing it as well. So my advice to you is, if you look at the presentations that didn't score as well, it's essentially because we didn't make a good enough connection between the theoretical concepts and the examples that you're actually using. So be careful on how you bring other media into the room. There's nothing wrong with using videos, making videos, referring to something from YouTube, whatever, but it has to actually add some value. I didn't really get a feel last night like the ads that were being shown actually helped explain your explanation of how those theoretical concepts related to your examples. So, having something at the end, it's not maybe going to do that, but maybe it might be something you have at the beginning, and then you can actually work through and explain how that ad or that content related to your explanation. But well done. And remember what I said. Great if you can think about the concepts that we've already had: reproducer, innovator, and now resource profiles, the environmental context that we're operating within. If you can keep those sorts of concepts and keep bringing them forward and lay as another layer to your explanation in relation to what you're doing this week with the variation, selection, retention, struggle stuff, and organisational adaptation. Um, one of the groups was asking for some sort of advice at the very end there last night. Something that I mentioned to them that some of the other groups might find of interest as well is, think about if you just go to Google Images, and you type in evolution of, it's amazing. If you click through, it's amazing the pictures that you'll actually see. A few years ago I saw some amazing pictures of cornets, little like trumpets, little cornets, and it had the evolution of the cornet, and you could sort of see from 200 years ago, say, over time, and then changing and changing and changing. It had two vowels, then it had three vowels, maybe it had four vowels, then it had a wider cone, then it came down, then it was longer, then it was skinnier. So all these variations that have been added to the design of that instrument, some have been retained over time, and some have been selected against. Okay, some have been selected for. All right. So you don't have to do this as purely organisation. You can actually think about how some object has changed over time as well. There was a picture in there of mobile phones, right? And you can sort of see how they've gone from these big things with big antennas down to these little tiny midget things. You can think about the nature of what they could do. They could ring people. That's all they used to do to start with. They used to ring people. Then they had text, and then they had games, and then they had all sorts of other stuff, and obviously internet and social networking, all sorts of stuff on them now. So all these variations which are being added as we go along, right? Some are being selected for, some are being selected out by the environment, the external selection. Some are being selected for and retaining internally. Mac computers have selected for certain functionality on their computers that the environment outside have sort of not selected for, but are now, because of the popularity of things like iPods, are now starting to select for. Okay, so it's a very fluid thing. What gets selected, why, how, when, and how that actually reverses itself. So have some fun with it. Find a good example that you can have some fun with. Anything can be explained using variation, selection, retention. Anything. If you can actually think that next step about the nature of adaptation and the survival, can be the survival of an object. It doesn't have to be firms, right? And it can be people's behavior, people's practices, fashion. You can go anywhere with this one. Okay. I thought it was great last night. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with next time. What I'd also like you to do is to think about the concept for your restaurant, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, the whole day, whatever you think it's going to be. Bring that down. Just write it down on a piece of paper. Give me some key dot points of the essence of what it actually is you're trying to do, and once you've done that, let's look at them. Then we can shoot them through to Christ College and say, hey guys, accommodation services, sorry, we can say, hey, are you guys happy to have this type of event run here? Get the sign off, and then you can really move it forward, okay? Give yourself a few more weeks to sort of say, that's it, let's put this in week 11, week 12, and let's actually get this thing done, all right? Everybody should be in a group now. I will send out the marks on the spreadsheet that I currently have from the School of Management, and if your name is not got marks next to it, that simply means that I haven't worked out what group you're in. So just send me an email and say, hey Cole, I'm in that group, and then we'll fix that up for you, okay? But as I said, really impressed with your work last night and your attitude. Keep that going. Don't let yourself lose sight of the theory that we have been working with. Build it cumulatively across your presentations. It'll help you when we get to the game. The game goes in weeks 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's hard. The game's not easy. It's fun, but it's very, very hard. And the more you understand the theory, the easier the game will be to play. Okay? So don't try and catch up with it then. Just keep it in your mind now and try and keep weaving it in to your presentations as you go. Well done. Really, really pleased with what you've been able to do so far, and can't wait to see what you actually come up with in the next presentation. Any queries, questions, by all means, just drop me a line. If you haven't connected with Facebook, Twitter, or MySpace, by all means, send me a message saying you want to connect to UTAS Enterprise. Happy to have updates going to you that way as well. All the best for the weekend. Cheers.